So I wanted to do an update video. I know it's been a while. I've been pretty hectic, just about to change jobs, so I'm tying up a few project loose ends at work. So it's first bit of real tank maintenance today for a few weeks. I've been doing weekly water changes, but I've cleaned the pumps and stuff today. So been a few more additions. I had a flame angel for about 2 weeks. And that was bought for my birthday by the wife and kids, and unfortunately he made a break for freedom. If you've seen my old videos, there's a gap, or there was a gap around the old lid. So what I've done is in here there was the clamps to hold these on tight. I've removed those. Luckily I made these this DIY lid. It just sits on the lip, you can see it just here. I actually made the lid slightly bigger, the cover slightly bigger than the tank, so it overlaps slightly at the back. And I filled in the back. This is actually tiling trim that you use, and it's the perfect width to fit over the edge of the tank. I don't know whether you can really see it there, but because the flame jumped out the back, I was a bit wary of still leaving this gap. I don't mind at the front so much because the chances are you'll see it flapping around on the floor, hear it, or the dogs will certainly tell you that there's something there. So the front I've left, but the back I've done the same on the other side as well. You can just see the trim on the back. So I've not had anything else jump. So when the flame went, I was pretty gutted, to be honest, because I had my eye on him for a fair few, probably a month or so. So there's a few additions to the tank to replace him. There is a coral beauty in there. You can just see him. There he goes, milling around. I took pity on him in the local fish shop because I'd had him for a while, and he's starting to colour up really well. And you can see there's an anthias in there as well now. Just disappeared back into the rock in the middle there. So yeah, I took pity on the coral beauty. He'd been there a while and he looked pretty sorry for himself. So I thought I'd bring him home. He's colouring up well. He's out most of the time. Yeah, he's a nice addition, and that's it. Fully stocked now. So there's the coral beauty, the anthias, the pair of clowns there that you can see, and then 4 really quite small green chromis. It was a group of 5, but the smallest one was killed off pretty quickly, unfortunately. They squabble as they all do, but they seem to get on okay. So yeah, I had a bit of a move around, a few additions. As you can see, I've got a moonlight strip up there now. It is literally just a blue LED strip that's zip tied between the two, and it just shows gives a little bit of moonlight. It does bring up the greens in the hammer and the zoa, which I've moved slightly down now. And I had a problem with the rock. There was aptasia on the rock that the leather was tied to, so I've cut off a bit of branch that I had left over. Just bashed it with a hammer and cut it into smaller chunks and zip tied him to that for the time being. I'm hoping within sort of 3 or 4 weeks he'll have attached and I can cut the zip tie. But so he's moved down there as well, and if you've seen a previous video, the zoa's moved off. He was in the middle here. I've moved him over to the side in preparation of getting some more corals next week. So I want some frog spawn, torches. I want to stick with LPS. I'm not going to go SPS, mainly because I don't dose. I do weekly water changes, about 12 to 15 litres a week, and I dose phytoplankton a couple of times a week, which I find helps a little bit, and I put a little bit of NT Labs trace elements in when I do a water change, 2 mil, just to help out a little bit. So yeah, it's going reasonably well. The only thing, I've made a few more changes down here. I'll put the light on in advance. So the skimmer, I know everyone says these TMC skimmers are pretty poor. They're not great. They're good for beginners, but I understand what people say, it would put beginners off because they're very picky. I seem to have found a sweet spot with mine. I have modified it though. You can just see a sort of egg crate box that the pump is sat on, which shortens the intake tube. I found that worked really well. I'm getting a decent consistent skim, as you can see. It was clean today, which is and you know, it's bubbling up. Usually it'd do this for 2 or 3 days, then it would start playing around, but it seems to have kept it more consistent. And literally now I don't touch it. You know, I'll check it a couple of times a week just to make sure it's not blocked, etc. But it's consistently skimming. I skim pretty wet, but you know, that's just a personal preference. And the skimmer cup is good for probably a week. Underneath the green mat is some foams. Let's see if I can just lift this up. This mat just stops any spray. So there's 3 foams under there. I know what people say, they're a nitrate trap, etc, etc, but you know, I find it works for me. I'm not seeing any adverse issues, and you know, I'm going to keep persevering. I have sat the skimmer on a piece of foam at the bottom just to quieten it down a little bit. Previous videos, this was I've jumped ahead. I've changed the baffles. I've had some custom baffles built. I don't know whether you can see it really. This first baffle now here has got a step in it, so the water goes over this step. This is the original baffle pulled up, and then there's a break. You can see it just sort of here, and it comes through the mesh, and the plan is that it obviously comes through and forces the water up, so you get a bit more flow through the chamber rather than just over. And in there is 2 kilos of Biohome Marine Ultimate Media. I've had good success with it in tropical tanks, although they're not the marine one, and there's space at the back. I'm going to run a little reactor for some phosphate media. I've got a little bag of NT Labs phosphate remover in here for the time being. I had a bit of a phosphate issue, so that's helped a little bit. Then the heater and the carbon are at the back. I've cleaned the pump out as well today, so it's pretty nice and quiet. Usual UV as well. So yeah, I mean it's gone all right, to be fair. Everyone sort of said, don't do marine, they're really difficult. You know, I do a weekly water change, 10, 12, 15 litres. I get my water pre-mixed. I always check the salinity first. It's usually pretty good from where I get it from, and that's about it. You know, I clean the glass a couple of times a week, and it's been all right, to be honest. I'm sure I'll have problems at some point. About the only thing I've got really an issue with is on this back glass. I don't really know whether you can see it, but there's a little bit of like brown, you can just see it around the base there, swirling around, brown sort of fur, algae. That's about it. You know, everything else seems to have gone pretty well. So yeah, I'll probably leave it another few weeks and make another video, but by then hopefully I'll have a few more corals as well, and I'll keep you updated. Alright, thanks for watching, cheers.